All right, you guys, Reddit is getting super bold. I just saw a post on Reddit, and this is my Reddit reaction series. This one is from FU Mean 444. Who are some rap producers that you completely forgot existed? They didn't say fallen off. They said, who are some rap producers that you completely forgot existed? And he says, as the title says, are there any rappers you vividly remember from the 2010s but haven't heard a track from them in a while? So I want to preface this before I start reading people's answers is I want to respect all the producers in this thread. I only saw two names, but I wanted to keep this fresh. And also I want to say what a lot of people can't understand or comprehend is that when the media machine is behind you, everything looks like, in the forefront because they're being promoted. It's advertisement behind the artists. They're pushing certain artists with money. And so, the same way like Jurassic Park is a classic in the 90s, I'm sure they pushed it and pushed it and pushed it to where it was like in every newspaper, on every TV, all you knew was that Jurassic Park was about to drop. Now, is it as in our psyche today? Not necessarily, but is it a classic? Yes. So I think it needs to be framed a certain way before people get discouraged about stuff like this. So young Lud says can't remember. Rudy Goof Troops says Murder Beats. I don't know if he released a song with a rapper in 2 to 3 years. Now, which rappers are we talking about? Are we talking about the Migos? You know what happened to the Migos? One of the members passed away. R.I.P. Takeoff. So it's like if you're dealing with a band and then the band loses a member and then the two members have like an issue with each other who are remaining, it's going to be hard to work with the band. So if that's the most forefront person, that's not going to define you as Murder Beats. Murder Beats is Murder Beats. He's probably one of the only producers I've seen outside of Timbaland, Metro Boomin, and maybe those are the only top ones on top of my head that have really mastered personal brand. Like Murder Beats has mastered the personal brand. His brand is about his name way more than it is about music. So that's one thing I respect about Murder Beats. He has a personal brand that he built. Lex Luger is on this list as a producer, a hip hop producer that was completely forgotten according to this Reddit post. Lex Luger has a Twitch. He's active making content. He understands what we're going through as current content creators. I mean, the man was so young, producing for the top artists in the world. Like when you're that young and you're just coming from, from rags to riches, meaning like he went through a lot of struggle and obstacle, got over that obstacle, worked with the top artists in the world. When you go from nothing to something very fast, even me, I'm talking about myself really. When you go from nothing to something very fast, we're not always prepared. Not only emotionally, we're not prepared, but how to mentally handle life's obstacles. Life will always humble you in ways you can't even imagine. Financially humble you, emotionally humble you, physically humble you. There's always something to learn before you're ready for a certain level. And it just takes a lot of getting beat up by life, really, to be honest. So we respect Lex Luger for even going through a lot of that stuff and still being somebody who's on Twitch making content, being seen by the people and trying to help. Okay, this one's from a kid named Hijai. Says, has Arab music done anything interesting in the past decade? Also, has Timbo done anything good in recent years besides scamming people and AI? All right, so let me address the first part, which is Arab music. Think about that time period when that music was in the forefront. And I say forefront for a reason. It doesn't mean these people aren't doing things that are musical. We're talking about forefront, right in front of the newspaper, right in the front of the blogs. A lot of that sound. And also, too, Arab music was performing. He was doing the like stuff in performing his beats. So it wasn't just stuff that he produced, it was him performing. Okay, so he has that leverage as well. That's why a lot of producers become DJs because now they don't have to wait on an artist to blow up. They can go do their own tour as a DJ. And I believe Murder Beats does that too. And so and thinking about the style of music, we're thinking like Dipset era Arab music. I'm thinking like the heavy snares, heavy hi-hats. That type of sound was a specific era where it was like fresh off the drug dealer phase of hip hop and then slowly moving into the drug user phase. And I don't mean that in any type of way. I'm saying that the language went from the rappers dealing to the rappers using. Okay. And that was the kind of transition. And now the sound's a little bit different. They're going for more of a vibe for these sounds. Also, has Timbo done anything in recent years? I'm not familiar with Timbaland's production. Okay, I am familiar with Beat Club and some of the AI talk, but I don't know about his products and services. Impossible Fact says high tech. Again, another classic producer who you can't put a stain on their name. It's like saying Jay Dilla, RIP. If Jay Dilla were still with us, it's like his classic sound was from when he was young doing his thing, and that's the sound he's known for. Now, if his sound tremendously changed, would we still be saying that he's out of touch? Does that make sense? Like, even if he's still here, he's a legend, but his sound may have gone trap. Are we still going to say he's a classic if he switched over to trap? Or is he always locked into what we know him for? Like, for example, it's the Illmatic effect. With Nas, we had Illmatic, the most classic of classic hip hop albums to ever exist. And once you go from Illmatic to anything else that's not Illmatic, people are like, they're like, what is this? Is it ever going to return to Illmatic? Then it took Hit Boy to team up with Nas years and years and years later to re-spark that like Illmatic type feeling where it's like hip hop is here. That's how it felt. It was like hip hop is here. And Hit Boy and Nas created that type of energy. Haven't heard of Pierre Bourne-Tag in a minute. And again, I want people who are on Reddit just kind of saying stuff who might not understand how this industry works, is that it's similar to athletics, to where when you go into a sport like the NFL, let's say the NFL, you have a couple years to shine until you're not the one that they're featuring in the marketing. It's not because the person's less good. It's not because of anything about their skill set. It's more so about how marketing works. Marketing, you need new faces, novelty. You need a lot of new. So if characters are what we're selling as the NFL, if characters are what we're selling as the NBA, we only have 5 people we could feature, but then we need new faces all the time to connect with all these new audiences because we want to grow the business. So we need new faces. Same thing with producers. They need the music industry needs to have a lot of new faces. That's why a lot of women are now in the forefront in hip hop, which is a good thing, because we already heard the dealer music. We heard the user music. We heard the aggressive drill music. We heard, from the faces of all these people. Who haven't we heard from? Different countries. We haven't heard from the women. So that's where we're starting to move the hip hop forefront face, because they need to resonate with that audience in order for hip hop to grow in different communities. Okay, nextly, they say Zaytoven. Zaytoven is pretty much staple in our society as a producer community, because he's just what people admire to be. You really can't take that away. It doesn't matter. Like let me think of an example here, a sports example. I'm not too deep into sports, but Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa. Is that right? Barry Bonds? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and Mark McGwire. The only 3 baseball people I know off the top of my head during the whole steroids scandal. They might not have played for 10 years, 20 years. It doesn't matter. I only watched baseball for 1 to 2 years because they were on the steroids and because they were hitting home runs every single time. So it was like a big thing back then. And that's all I paid attention to. But they're still legends because I know them for being excellent during that time. Whatever they did after that, it doesn't matter. We know them and remember them for that specific thing. They're always going to be branded for that excellence. So it's kind of like Michael Jackson albums. Do I need an album every year to love Michael Jackson? He's technically passed away, but why is he still relevant? Or, it's because the media machine needs to push Michael Jackson in order to leverage the catalog that they own of his music to monetize it, because he's not here. So of course you're going to see more stuff pop into the forefront because it's about promotion at that point. But also too, he made X amount of albums. They're all classic. And now it lives on forever, even though he's not here. So this argument is, it's kind of bizarre, really. Ryan Lewis, I'm not familiar with Ryan Lewis. Bink, okay, I'm not as familiar. I've heard the name. Young Keo, Tank God, Take a Day Trip. Shout out to Take a Day Trip. They were super clean and innovative with the way they created their bounce. Wonder Girl, Cash Money AP. Anybody know Hank Shockley? So again, Cash Money AP, I know him from YouTube. I don't know him personally, but I know of him from YouTube. Wonder Girl, we all knew Wonder Girl. When you have Wonder Girl impressing the top producers in the world, it doesn't matter what they're doing right now. It does not matter. They're like stable forever. Take a Day Trip, same thing. It's like when you've built up one of the greatest artists of that specific time period, like Lil Nas, because Lil Nas, didn't he have backlash at some point? So how does Lil Nas's backlash diminish what Take a Day Trip did? It's not really up to them to determine the forefront person's actions. And so that's what happens a lot with producers. They don't control the narrative. They don't control the marketing. So they're kind of secondary to what happens in the marketing and everything else. Sunny Digital, again, when you have a person who made one video and got the whole producer community talking about it, you know, it's like, I don't think these people understand. I don't know who these people are. So I want to first say, I don't know if they're producers or consumers or what. But there's a huge difference between what's in the public eye and what's in the community as far as who's important. Okay, because that won't change. It says, I don't care if he counts as rap specifically, but Danger Mouse went from multiple critically acclaimed singles and albums to nothing. Because you don't understand how the music business works. It's a bank. They need a return on investment. It's a bank. All right, so this post is getting a little boring, to be honest. Next, let's move over to this one. This one, and I didn't read this in its entirety, so I have no idea if this is a question or not. This one's from Ali Raps. He says, making great trap beats is hard. I've been producing for a few years now, even had some releases on major labels, produced for various artists, and even recently had a song featured on a Netflix show. I would say I'm pretty competent as a producer. Can someone please explain to me why making a great trap beat is so freaking hard? I've made EDM. Now, I don't know if he means trap like EDM trap or trap. So let's read on. He says, I've made EDM, house, pop, indie rock, and everything in between. Nothing daunts me more than trap beats. I've had a few strokes of genius and made a couple decent beats here and there, but I have yet to find a consistent process that can deliver me at least okay results. Well, I got the process at busyworksbeats.com/beatmagic. I also have free courses, so you don't even have to buy anything, but look up my trap series at busyworksbeats.com/premium. And it will guide you through things like tresillo, ta, 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 ta. Once you understand that, and understand that the snare goes on the 3 and the 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or 3 and the 7, I meant to say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or you could do modern trap, which is like they switch up the snare placement to the 3 and the 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's more of like a drill influence pattern. All right, then he says, but I've yet to find a consistent process that can deliver me at least okay results whenever I make a beat. He says, I think the problem is trap is such a broad genre. No, it's not really. That it can be anything, not really. Especially when it comes to melodies. For example, if you want a formula for trap, as far as getting to a trap beat, use the Phrygian scale, which starts at E. It's all the white notes from E. Okay, so use the Phrygian scale. It sounds like this. Let me load up my DAW real quick. All right, I thought my thing was set up. I don't know why it's not making noise. Whatever, it's not plugged up. There we go. Here we go. So it's all the white notes starting from E. That's trap for you. Okay, or you could do the typical. It's 4 notes that repeats itself. Okay, so it comes from the Phrygian scale, all the white notes starting at E. Then he says, I think the genre is too broad. Again, not really. Because the trap is not the sound, it's the drums. It's the drums that makes trap. You could have a country sample and trap drums, it's going to be trap. That's what defines trap, is not the sound, not the instruments, but the drums. Probably why you're having troubles. If you want good trap drum kits, look up Drumify. They have the big, Big White Beats kits, BWB kits. Go to Drumify. They have the BWB kits, and that's all you really need for trap. Let me keep reading here. He says, especially when it comes to melodies. Yes, melodies can be anything, but isn't that how we want it to be? We don't want it to be some cookie cutter thing that is just the same thing every single time. That would be boring. When you write a rock song, you grab a guitar and you go to town. Trap melodies can be synths, orchestras, samples, but that's, let me just read before I get frustrated. Trap melodies can be synths, orchestras, samples, weird blips, accents, vocals, all processed with a ton of effects. How do you consistently come up with decent ideas with all those possibilities? How do you envision what you're going to make and find a route that leads there? I would be grateful. I don't know if he's talking about melodies or if he's talking about the beats. The beats, Like I said, it's about the same. Let me make a beat right now. Show you guys how simple trap is. Go find the Lunch 77 drum kits. Go find the Big White Beats drum kits. Look for the Metro Boomin Lunch 77 kit. You have everything you need. You have the snares. Okay, you got this. You pretty much have all the like stuff you need. Okay, I'm not gonna bore your auditors about every sound in trap, but you want hard snares, not like acoustic snares. That's why a lot of people don't get the sound. They're using too many acoustic sounds. You need synthetic sounds. Let's use this kick. I'm just picking random stuff here. And we need an 808. Now, 808s, you guys can go through a ton of 808s. I'd recommend just looking for the Spins 808 to get started. There's so many 808s, you don't want to get caught up trying to figure out the difference between every single 808. It's just a dummy mission, in my opinion. Okay, because there's so many nuances. So now we have 808s. Then we have claps. Now the clap comes from the Roland TR 808. Just altered to sound different, but that's from the Roland TR 808. Trap really comes from the Roland TR 808 drum machine. It's the same kick, altered, same clap, same hi-hats. So that's where a lot of the source sound comes from in trap. Let's see how fast we can come up with the trap beat. And then you need an open hi-hat. Now, who said in that Reddit thread that Lex Luger is irrelevant or whatever? Like, his hi-hats are the #2 open hi-hat in this kit, which means we use the sounds all the time. So I don't know what people are talking about. Okay, so here's trap. Trap starts at about 120 BPM and higher. We're producing what's called double time. The easiest way to get started, in my opinion, is to right-click, fill each 2 steps for your hi-hat, add this to the playlist, and just start there. Okay, so then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another thing with these sounds, make sure you turn off the loop point or else it will just loop itself. It'll play again. So the first pattern to understand is called tresillo. So it's ta, 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 like that. So we can do that all throughout the beat. So it's boom, 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 boom. Once you learn tresillo, everything is pretty much simple. Now let's add the clap on the 3 and the 7 count. Let's turn the metronome on and just count. 1, 2, snare, 4, 5, 6, snare, 8, 1, 2, snare. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the clap's on the 3 and the 7. In more modern trap, the clap can be moved, but I don't want to complicate stuff right now. So that's trap. And then you add an 808. Let's just add a simple 808. Now the 808 usually follows the kick pattern. We're not doing anything too crazy. And then usually speaking, we use half steps, meaning going from one note directly to a note above. Now for more bounce, we can clone this and add a little stutter 808. Turn down the volume of it. That's trap. Let's take off some of this reverb on this clap. That's trap for y'all. It's really the drums. Everything else is like extra. So now let's add. Now the melodies comes down to 4 layers. You have the top line. You have what's called the harmony section. You have what's called a contrast section. I can get deeper with this, but we don't have all the time in the world. Then we have the rhythm section. Now what we already have, let me just save this so y'all could have, you guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. I'm gonna give you guys the projects in the Google Drive. Okay, so when you join, make sure you go to the Google Drive and then look for FL Studio project files. Let's call this Trap Beat in FL Studio. Save that. All right, so now I'm going to record from my Chord Kronos. Actually, let's not do all that. Let's just draw it in. Let's use Flex. So Flex is a free plugin for FL Studio users. Make sure you sign in to download all of it. Go to the Get tab, download your essentials, your essential packs. Let's go to pianos. We're going to go to Steinway. We're going to turn off all the effects, reverb, limiter, filter. We're going to turn all that off. Now next layer is the harmony section. I like starting with harmonies or chords because this creates the context for the entire track. So let's go in here, right click, go to piano roll. Like I said, Phrygian is usually where people start. You could also try F minor, E minor, but the Phrygian scale is all the white notes starting from E. And that's, you can move that around if you have to. Let's go down. And now we're going to use that half step, because the reason people use this is simply the root note has a half step up to F, but it's still all the white notes. Now we're gonna pull this over. This is technically a contrast layer. Losing my voice here. Contrast layer is usually the low frequencies of a track, but the 808 is trying to fight for that space. So what we'll do is take out the 808. We're gonna hit Control G, group this, go inside your channel rack, just get rid of the 808, hit Control X. Another trick, which is a Metro Boomin trick, go to your wrench tool, turn up time shift to delay the hi-hat just a little bit off the grid. So now the hi-hat's not super quantized to the grid. All right, now we need our harmony section to come in. What we can do here is copy contrast to the root notes, paste this into a new pattern. We're going to pull this up an octave. All right, and then we're going to build chords starting from this point. Now, the chords of trap are usually minor and the suspended second chord. So a minor chord in this case would be E, G, B. Let's add this. Now in trap, they don't play chords all the way through, but if we had to, we could do something like this. So now we're playing 0, 3, 7, which is the minor chord. 0 meaning the point of rest, meaning there's no relative distance. Then we're going to count up. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Creates the minor chord every single time. And then we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this case, but this, we can pull that up to 7. So it makes this a suspended second chord. Now, in trap, would we always harmonize every single note? Not necessarily. So we can group these notes that are similar. So really what we're doing is just playing fifths, perfect fifths, which are 7 notes away from each other. Now this is a very bland sound, so that's where effects come into play. How to make this sound more unique than just basic. We're going all the way. We might as well finish this trap beat. Now again, I'm kind of shortcutting everything about it, but let's add a fruity wave shaper. Make it a convex curvature like this to add more harmonics. We're going to add oversampling mode and turn up the pre. Then go into a fruity soft clipper. And now we're going to level so we're not distorting the instruments, but we can push the 808. I'm going to take out the kick on the second half because it requires some side chaining that we don't have time for today. So I'm just going to get rid of the impact of that kick. We're just going to do this simply hitting Control G. And then find that kick. I don't know why my voice sounds so raspy. Hit Control X. Okay, now we can play those chords like that, or we could use the new tool in FL Studio called the chord progression tool. Hit Alt P. I'm going to turn off the mastering for a second. It's making my voice sound weird. So we're going to hit Alt P. Let me turn this off. All right, we're going to hit Alt P. And then we're going to go to the, where is it at? Performance mode. And let's go to this side. Let's switch this to arpeggio style. I don't know why it's not. Oh, let me do this again. I think it generated chords. I don't know why it's like just disregarding what we had. Usually this works fine. I don't know why it's generating chords over top our stuff, but switch it to different arpeggios. You could also try the syncopation, but that's not the tone we're going for, so I don't know why it screwed up my chords. But you guys could try that, or you could just simply play the notes rhythmically, so like this. So for this beat, I don't think we need to do all that, but that's another way you guys can create melody out of your chords. I have a new melody course at busyworksbeats.com/melody mastery. That will take you to our new course. So now we need two other layers. We need the top line and we need the rhythmic section. Now you could consider the drums the rhythm and not add anything else, or we could add rhythm to the melody. Okay, so let's add a top line. Now here I'm going to do this from my keyboard just so it's faster. Now let me show you guys how to take that basic sound and make it something different. This video is going to be like 50 minutes long. I could already feel it. Now let's add a granulizer to the piano. We could do this with LuxVerb right inside of FL Studio. Where is it at? LuxVerb. We're going to turn the dry level down, turn the feedback on, turn this up to 12 semitones, and then turn the gain up. Turn off the reverb for now. Let's tempo sync the delay. Let's add some reverb. Then we can do cool stuff like add halftime to this, which is under gross beat. The trap melodies are really about the effects more than it is about the note itself, because you could do a lot. Let's go to momentary. Let's go to half speed. Let's add a filter to the piano. I'm also sending the piano to that reverb. And now we feel that darkness over the track. Okay, so now I'm just adding little glitches and effects to make it sound more full. Let's add some more snares in here. So we can see how this is quickly evolving into its sound. Just like that, you guys have a trap beat. I'll let this play. So there is a formula to trap. So you guys can learn more at busyworksbeats.com/premium. I just wanted to show you guys there is indeed a formula for making trap beats. Let me turn this mic down a little bit. I feel like I'm screaming into the mic. All right, so that was the formula for how to make trap beats. Nextly is, I'll kind of quickly go through these because this isn't really. So it says there's hidden patterns in folk music that reveal how music evolved. In short, with music, we express a little bit more as far as the pitch of a sound. Like when I'm talking, I'm staying, pretty stable with the tone. But if I was expressing and I'm an actor, I'm writing a song, then I would really stress the pitch range. So in short, songs have a wider pitch range, whereas speech has a more narrow pitch range. And here's some data from this specific study. So this basically shows in red, that's the song, versus blue, the speech, kind of the pitch range variation going on. And here's where the data gets pretty cool. So the pitch height, aka the range, for listening to the instrumental, gets pretty high. Then the sung lyrics, even in the high range. But once we start speaking, it pretty much stays stable. And that's the difference between the tone in speaking versus the tone with singing. There you go. Go study songbirds and listen to how they express their tones. And here we have, what is this, tempo? So the tempo of a song, singing wise, is slower, because if I'm expressing like this and I'm doing all of that with my voice, then it takes more time to hold the note and really precisely target where I'm going with my pitch. Whereas voice, if I have a lot to say, I have a lot to communicate, I can't think of the tuning and me saying what I'm going to say. I can't be like, I'm going to go to the store today and there's a word. That's going to be half impossible to calculate in real time when you have a lot to say. So that's why the speaking pattern is faster. So we're evolutionarily created to speak faster by keeping our tonal range smaller. So how does this translate to producers and artists? If you guys want to rap fast, try rapping in a smaller vocal range. If you want to stretch out your songs and make them slower, increase your pitch range, but then make the lyrics slower. Okay, so that's the science behind it, literally the science behind it. Then we see the pitch stability of the singers, I believe, here. And it looks like spoken word has more stability, whereas sung words, like I said, it's hard to target specific tunes without auto-tune, without a bunch of practice. So that's that. Just wanted to show you guys that. And then lastly, it looks like computer music is calling it quits here. The quote in the headline says, "I can't help but wonder how much computer music has had a hand in bringing to life over the years, with a magazine, Computer Music Magazine, to close after 25 years in print." So it sucks that, they're closing the doors. This is a conversation around what is media nowadays. Media is content creators. It's social media. I just started getting into vinyls, but does the average person have a physical vinyl? Not necessarily. And so physical print, and I'm not critiquing the company, I'm just saying the current day, we want social media contents, we want clips, we want shorts, we want YouTube videos. Reading a tutorial might be good for some folks, but most folks want the video. They want the in real-time sound of the audio. And again, the new media where companies are pushing their audio products is social media, is YouTube. That's just the name of the game right now. So that's a sign that we are moving into that age, regardless of how precious physical goods are. All right. And then I don't know why I pulled this up. Why is this up? This has something to do with this point, but I forget why. Mainly because this social media is social media. Like, can you get millions of views on a magazine? I'm not sure. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Just wanted to react to Reddit. It's a new series here. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.